Hey guys, it's Adrian Palmer here. I'm the founder of the Constant Podcast, and I'm here to let you guys know that I'll be coming back with another dope episode. This time, we'll be discussing the significance of mental health in our communities. I'll be accompanied with another dope perspective. You guys stay tuned for the guest on my podcast. I'll be going via IG Live, so you guys go ahead and tune in on my IG Live. I'll be announcing the time soon. What we'll be talking about is the significance of mental health in our day and age. I think it's very imperative that we educate our youth, educate our adults on how to be able to take the proper approach on understanding mental health and how it's been affecting our communities, ourselves, and everyone around us. I think it's very imperative also that we understand how social media has then created a dynamic on how we should appropriately have our lives documented day to day and week to week basis. And I think it's very unrealistic if you look at it in that kind of context. So I also want to talk to people about finding positive alternatives. So when they feel like they are down and out and they don't have a great resource to be able to look out to or to be able to hold on to. So yeah, I can't really be able to get this episode started with you guys. Go out, you guys stay tuned. It's going to be one for the books. All right, you guys stay safe. Yo,
Yeah, yeah.
what's
You ain't the only
good?
one. I went and poured up. We turned up.
Yo, you know what I'm saying, Bob? Like, you busy. So we gonna turn the tunes down.
All right. There we go.
Got you a good cup of that fine wine.
Yes. Today we're featuring a nice fine glass of Riesling. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes. For the immune system, yes. And for your mental space, yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, positively. All right, let me go ahead and pull up these notes and we can go ahead and get started. You feel me? Mm, 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 mm. So now, if you guys are accompanying us now, I am Adrian Palmore. I am the founder of the Constant Podcast, and today we'll be talking about the significance of mental health in our day and age. And I am accompanied with the wonderful perspective of Hailey Ross, who will be accompanying me on this journey of educating you guys on the significance and the magnitude that mental health holds in our day and age. So go ahead and introduce yourself and go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Hailey Ross. Adrian and I are from the same place. That's how we know each other. I also have a podcast. It's called Millennial Mindset, where we talk about these kind of topics and things like that from the perspective of a millennial. I'm a college graduate as well. I've been through some things in life, so I got perspective.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, so I have a question for you. What is mental health to you? How would you consider, what would you think mental health is?
Just keeping your mind here with you, not letting it go to, other things, other thoughts, taking it outside of where your 2 feet are standing. That's what
Okay.
mental health is to me.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like there's a spectrum of mental health. I feel like
Yes.
because I think mental health is a whole spectrum of, there's illnesses, different conditions, and I would say that it's a whole, I guess, yeah, spectrum of being a high or low on it. Because I mean, we can't just say about our mental space and mental health. I feel like are one and the same. So for me, I think the definition of mental health would be a combination of your thought processes, how to be able to conduct yourself and your behavior, how your thought process contributes to your behavior, and so I think that's the gist of it, in a nutshell. Because I mean, there's so many different ways to be able to define mental health, and being able to go about it in that
Yes.
nature. So
I like the way you said that there's a spectrum, because there's really like, there
sure.
are like everyday things that you can cope with on your own, and then there's the far end where it's like, okay, you need heavily sedation, to be able to stay in a positive mental state.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the thing though. Like, I feel like a lot of people. I feel like when you think about mental health, I think a lot of people think about. I think they deem it as the social stigma about when you talk about mental health is crazy or not crazy, but I think it's a lot of other things that contribute to what mental health is. And a lot of people don't understand what they do on a daily basis contributes to their mental health, whether it is something that is changing your mood, something that's enhancing your mood. It
The
can be
words
anything
that you
from
speak.
exactly, and understanding that you have to understand that your voice is your environment. So just understand
Mm-hmm.
when you continuously speak stuff into existence, like, oh my God, like you do something bad, like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. When you start to really process that, like your body really starts to process that as you being stupid. So a lot of the times you have to realize that your voice is part of your environment as well. So
Mm-hmm.
your body really accepts the things that you say as in response to it. Just like I feel like when we say stuff about like, oh my gosh, I'm so fat, or it starts to really put a downer on your mood or on how you are self-aware about yourself. So the thing is, you have to really be cognitive of how you view yourself, but also what you speak into existence, because your
Mm-hmm.
body will respond to that in a negative fashion.
That's facts.
So it's moving along. So how has mental health affected our Black communities? How do you feel like it has affected our community?
Well, I think there are a lot of people who suffer from any part of the spectrum of mental health. And because there's like this stigma that the only people who seek therapy are those who are on the far end of the spectrum, I think that has became problematic to our community, because it's like, no, you need help and guidance with all of those things. And how do you know where you land on that spectrum if you don't assess that?
Yeah,
If your parent can't assess that, if your parent can't say, I see these signs in you, and they just talk it to, oh, he's just a kid, or just, that's just how they are. And you just kind of accept, I feel like our communities just accept our loved ones that suffer from those things. Like, that's just how they are, and we're going to love them, and that's it. And I think those things really, begin to affect our community.
right. I think the fact of it is lack of education trickling down to the children from the parents to the children,
Mm-hmm.
but also the lack of effort there's putting into educating the people around us on how to go about our mental health in the best fashion. Because mental health is not just about having a mental illness, it's also about keeping your mental space composed of positivity, but also we're going to be hit with different variables that put our mental space in disarray. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to also stick away from this social stigma of us feeling like the only way that we can know about mental illnesses if something hits the fan and somebody is deemed or goes crazy.
Yes.
So my thing is understanding that we have to get to a situation where we are educating not only our parents but also our youth, and knowing that mental health is something that happens on a day-to-day basis, but also know that it's not just about having mental illnesses, and that knowing that you are part of the mental health community on a day-to-day basis, knowing when you're in a classroom, when you're
Mm-hmm.
out and everywhere, like these are things that happen on a day-to-day basis. So when I say things like that on a classroom setting or stuff like that, it's like knowing that if I am in the classroom, we're taking notes, and say I get frustrated with not being able to keep up with notes, my mental health is affected. I am now frustrated. I am now stressed out. I am now thinking about what's going to happen if I fail this test. What's going to happen
Yep.
if I can't, so my
And you
mental
just
health
start
is
to give up.
affected. Exactly. So you have to understand that we are surrounded by things and variables that contribute to our mental health. So when you look at it in that perspective, then you then learn that, oh, wow, like mental health isn't just illnesses. It's actually other things that contribute to our mental state and our mental
Yes.
space. So you have to also put yourself in a perspective and an understanding that on a day-to-day basis, we have to do things that help our mental space, even when we are not supposedly going through it. So, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, like me, what I'm saying, I may have had a good day. I'm chilling, I'm vibing. But I know at the end of the day, I still get my daily dose of anime or cartoons so that I can be able to unwind and I can still chill, because I know
Mm-hmm.
that this is what helps me stay poised, it helps me stay grounded and stuff
Yes.
like that. So we have to understand that this is these are the necessary
It
precautionary
is
measures that we
constant.
have to take. Exactly. So I think how our community is affected is, I think there's less education and less emphasis on how mental health is affecting our communities. And I think that since it's not a popular or hot topic to the youth or to, I guess, to the youth or to parents, it's not deemed as important because it's something that you can't physically
You
see.
can't see.
Exactly. So like we talked about before about how people would then break their arm and they'll go immediately to the hospital, you know what I'm saying, and get that whole arm treated. But the thing is, after you have a mental breakdown, you'll go talk to a friend, but you won't see a therapist because you may seem that, oh, I can't afford it, or I'm not going to pay somebody to listen to my problems, or I feel like there's a better way I can go about it because I've been able to stay afloat when things like this have happened. You know,
Right.
so when you look at it in that fashion, it then shows that people's priority list of their physical and their
Versus their
mental
mental.
is different. Like,
Yes. And even what a lot of people don't know is that many therapists or, offices, they accept insurance. Like your insurance will cover those things. The same way when you break your arm and you go to
right,
the ER or you go to the doctor and your insurance covers it, they do the same thing when you seek therapy. It's not
exactly,
this thing that you have to pay so much money for, or it's government funded and it's not really beneficial to you. Like you
yeah,
can seek a very good therapist with your insurance and it will be paid for. It will be
right,
paid for.
yeah. And the
I
thing
think
is
another part,
also
go ahead.
talk about the sliding scales. But go ahead.
Yes, they do go on sliding scales. That means based on your income or your situation, they'll um, lower their price.
Exactly, exactly.
But yeah, another thing that I think people are miseducated about with therapy in particular is that they think this person is here to diagnose me. Like I'm going to sit here and tell them all these things that I've experienced or say, this is how I feel on the inside. And they're going to say, oh, you have this, this, and this, and you need to take medicines.
Okay, yeah, right.
And that's, in my experience, it was not like that. And other people that I'm speaking to who have gone to therapy, it's not like that at all. They literally just listen to you, and they'll ask some questions like, "Why do you feel this way? Um, is there anything else in your life that you see to show up in X, Y, and Z?" So it's not really like trying to figure out what's wrong with you. It's just finding ways to cope with things that have happened to you.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, I think that it gets to a point in time where we have to figure that the therapists are there to help us, not just to tell us what's completely wrong with us. And it's to give us positive alternatives to let us know that there are better ways to go about things so that we have a better way to deal with what we have going on so that we don't have to feel like we're a lost cause or we're at a
Yes.
roadblock or that nobody has ever experienced what we've experienced because we're all
Hmm.
in the same boat. It's just a matter of knowing if we're in the same boat or not. Because I don't know what boat you're in if you don't express yourself. But also we have a sense of understanding or feeling that the only ones we're the only ones that are feeling like this, and also feeling like I may be the only one that may care this much about what I'm going through. So I don't want to confide in anybody else to try to be there for me because they may not be the
Absolutely.
person that's going to be there for me every single time or in the fashion that I'm used to or want them to. You know.
Yes. Yes. I
So
also think we should take the time to thank you and people like you who look like our community and are working in these fields. Because even if you want to seek therapy, there's that barrier between you and a therapist who don't look like you. So you feel like,
okay.
okay, you won't really understand. So most people in our black communities, they only want to seek black therapists. And
Right.
it's this many. It's so hard to find black therapists.
Mhm.
So, we're gonna take the time and we're gonna thank you for being in this profession and being image to our younger generations.
Exactly. And the thing is, I know a lot of us feel like we're in a situation, may not think about it, but we're in a situation where we feel like I am not going to listen to somebody who has not been through what I've been through. You ever been at a job where, I'm in the mental health field, so I've been in a place where I feel like I've talked to individuals and they're like, oh, you're just here for the money. Or you haven't been through what I've been through. You don't know. Like, kids always think that adults were just born
Yes,
adults. And then,
yes,
like, another thing is what I realize is that like we get in a situation where we want people that we would think but obviously we're all biased in our own ways. We want to think that, like, for instance, you don't want nobody of another color or another race to tell you how blacks should feel about things that happen to black people. You gonna be like, you haven't felt this kind of oppression.
You don't even know what that's like. You don't know what it's like over here.
Exactly. So the thing is, I think that a lot of us get to the point where a lot of people may not, or people may not feel like they can see the therapist because maybe they may not walk into a room where it's somebody who looks like me and knows where I'm coming from. So we won't even give them the chance. So this is a reason why, I mean, you may watch this video. Yes, this is me with a mouthful of gold. Yes, this is me with neck tattoos everywhere. I have tattoos everywhere. I have chains on. I have my ears pierced. I have my hair braided. I have dreads, and I have my hair braided. And the reason why I put all this stuff on, and yes, this is my jersey, Conscious Gems.
Go get you one.
Yes, I'm a fighter. So I got my name on the back of my jersey from my clothing line. The reason why I'm saying all this is not to flex, not even to brag, but it's to show you guys that somebody who does look like me, I'm not a ball player. I'm not a person that you may put a social stigma on that can have a negative connotation. It's to show you that just because these material things are on me, it does not make me who I am. It is a part of my demeanor. It's a part of my character. It may be a part of how you see me or how I appear to you. But my thing is, what makes me me is my characteristics, is what I've been through and what has made me who I am, how I have educated people around me and myself to put me in a position to know that, hey, these things don't define me. They may enhance or put down my appearance, but it is letting you know that, hey, you may look like me. You may know somebody that looks like me, but look how I'm carrying myself and go about life in a certain manner. Yes, I like this appearance, man. I like to look like this, stuff like that. But you can also understand that I care about mental health. I go through things that you go through. I just look like this. You know what I'm saying? So I say all that to say this. There are people who are who go off things based off appearance, but a lot of the times we have to understand that mental health has no alarm clock, it has no face, it has no characteristic, it has no traits, and it is not biased. It will hit you at any time. It will come at any part of the day, and at the same time, it does not affect. It may affect somebody more times out the day, or a certain age group or something like that, or more times or anything like that. But at the same time, it affects everybody. Maybe on a higher or lower scale, but it affects everybody. So I say all that to say this: mental health is part of our community, whether you believe it or not. So educating yourself on how you can better your mental health and the space around you and people around you can then put you in a driver's seat to making your environment and the environment around you a better place. So
that's facts.
So where are we at now? So now we're on. So the new norm can be can be an effect on people's mental health as we adjust to whatever the new norm may be because of the shift in social guidelines due to COVID-19. So being that humans are a social species, we need to be social to remain sane and also normal. So the upcoming restrictions and the new norm due to the virus can affect individuals too. How do you feel particularly about that?
Okay. In the beginning of all of this, I think it had everybody's mental state because it was just so unsure. You know, there was so much uncertainty. But now, listen, I live in Atlanta. It's normal.
Back normal?
It is normal. But I think it also just plays into like what's happening about how the media has just stopped talking about it. It's not forefront of our minds. You know, like the media hasn't told us that it's important. It is no longer important.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, for sure, mental health was like, but now I think it's you find ways. It's like, okay, how am I gonna get through this? Me, I'm stubborn. I don't like to be told that I can't do nothing. So when this hit, I was like, oh, we're gonna figure it out. It's gonna be hard, we're gonna struggle, but we're gonna figure it out. And even more so now, it's a lot easier now that we kind of understand things. We have a better understanding of the virus, you know, but that's not the same for everybody. I couldn't imagine having kids and losing my job, you know, and not being able to provide for children, you know, maintaining somewhere for them to stay. Like that is on a whole nother level of mental awareness and mental space, you know, because that's hard, you know. How has it affected you? I know that you have been fortunate. God has blessed you in this time, but I know it can still, you know.
To be honest, I've gotten to the point where it has affected my family in a detrimental way because I have some loved ones uh, who has received like got COVID. I've even had some friends, some ones close to me, family who's been affected by having COVID, but also some loved ones who've had people pass away from it. So it's definitely affected us to let us know, like, we're one of those people that we've been in the day and age where it's like, if it don't pertain to me on a day-to-day basis, it don't affect me. So a lot we get. I feel like that's how people feel about voting as well. But that's a different topic. But anywho, I feel like a lot of people feel like if it's not something that's affecting them on a day-to-day basis, then I ain't worried about COVID. I don't feel sick. I don't know nobody around me that feels sick. This COVID's on fake.
So
But
it
I
ain't
got
nothing.
exactly. But I got in a situation where I felt like these are real world problems. This is something that's really happening. It's taking us by storm. But maybe the media may be like may put it in a situation to where it's causing a panic, but these things are real. So I think how it affected me was understanding that like we can't take anything for granted because we could be that next case. I could be that
Yes.
next case. My whole life could be altered if I feel like I'm not taking the proper steps to be able to educate myself and protect myself and my loved ones because everything I could have worked so hard for could have been put up for grabs because I took it upon myself to take things lightly.
Yes.
That's what ended up happening, and also it changed my work setting. It changed, my training life as me being an MMA fighter. It changed that as well because of how we had to go about taking precautionary measures at the gym.
Yeah.
I think they put things in perspective and letting you understand that these things affect people and it affects other people on a certain scale too as well. So I think that I don't think things are back to normal, but I think this is the new norm of knowing that face masks.
How long you
Um,
think we're gonna be wearing masks?
believe it or not, I think we're going to be doing it for some years though. Because you know how I think it's going to be for some years. I just think it's going to be just the new norm. That's what I think it is. I think it's just
Yeah, I
going to
think
be.
we're just gonna be like China. China has, well, really many parts of Asia. They have worn masks because they have poor air quality. So it's been like their thing. Like it's not uncommon,
Oh, okay.
even before now, to go over there and see people wearing face masks. And I think that it's just gonna become that thing because our country has not taken the steps that it needed to,
Okay.
properly handle this. I think we're close to like 200,000 deaths now,
Ooh.
which is like, this is more than the number of people who can attend the Super Bowl.
Wow. I didn't know that it got that big like that. But I think that just goes to show how much this has got on a different scale. Because I think we've gotten to the point where it's like with this being the new norm, I think that it's going to get to the point where things are going to start to change so that we can start being more cognitive of how to be able to take care of ourselves. Because just imagine how many things we weren't doing because this COVID-19 wasn't around, So I think it makes it seem like I think this is going to be the new norm: face masks, sanitizing more, not only having a certain amount of people in a certain room, being able to do this
Things we
bring.
should have been doing a long time ago,
Yeah, yeah,
minus the
but I
face
think
masks.
you know
But
the thing is, I felt like because it was a norm to have colds, it was a norm to be had sniffles, it was a norm to be sick and stuff like that. So we didn't take.
and it came right around the season change. Spring, anybody who has allergies, you know what springtime do.
Yeah,
So right around the spring, you have these mix of things, and now we're going into flu season. So what
yeah,
you gonna do when all these old people who commonly catch the flu also
yeah,
get COVID, also do all of this, and
yeah. I can understand that. I just think it got to the point where now it's like before when this wasn't happening. You know what I'm saying? We weren't screening, we weren't doing temperature checks, we weren't wearing masks, we weren't doing all stuff like that. But now the new norm is going to be all of that because we're going to
yes,
try to dial down the cases of this of COVID. So when you do
yes,
that, I think it's like now it's like, damn, what if we would have been doing this? Could have prevented it, or is this bigger than the common cold or the flu or anything like that? Because
way bigger.
because I feel like people like we have a flu season, so why haven't we took these precautionary measures during the flu season? Is it because we feel like this has taken us by storm, or we don't have the proper I guess uh things to combat COVID? But I mean,
Yeah,
that's something.
so just
Uh,
like the flu, every year there's basically a different strand of flu, and that's why you get the flu shot because it's different. But with
right.
COVID, we got it all at once, and there's like 3, 4 different strands. You know, there's people who get the cough. There's people who lose like their sense of smell or taste. And now you have to have 4 or 5 vaccines that come out at once.
Right.
It's just a lot. But I can say the biggest thing I think that played a part in this and people's mental health is if you have someone who is sick, even if it is aside from COVID, you can't be there with them in the hospital. You can't visit them.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. You can call the hospital, but everyone's trying to call and check on their loved ones. So it's hard to, nurses and doctors are overworked. It's hard for them to answer the phone and say, this is what's going on with your loved one, you know, X, Y, and Z. You
Right.
know, imagine having a kid. Dads can't go to ultrasounds. Dads
Yeah.
can't be in delivery rooms.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, like this is playing on a lot of people's mental health because of, you know, that lack of connection that they can have in those areas.
Because they want to be safe and be able to take the right measures so that they don't be able to, so they can slow down the spread of it, you know. I can attest to that. I think there's right and wrong ways to be able to go about that. But then again, you know, we leave that to higher ups who are supposed to be putting our lives in their best interest. So that's what I think. But you know, I do have a question because I think this is a hot topic, and I think that's a lot of things that we all should need to discuss. How do you personally feel about the influence of social media on our mental health?
Okay. There are people who are heavily involved in that. Like I was saying, the media tells you what's important and how to feel. The media has always been like that, even when it was just a newspaper that was slung at your front door. Like, whatever's on that headline, it tells you what's important. But one thing that I learned is that when it comes to social media, it is your choice. You choose to follow those people. You choose to follow those things. And what I did was really change who I was following. So that when I scrolled my timeline, the only thing I saw were people being positive, pretty girls, my friends, just people doing like things that were positive. Unfollowed the shade, even if it's just general news. Like, I only want things on my timeline that are, I only want to see, and you have the ability to change that. That's what's great about social media. But I do think it does affect a lot of people because they get wrapped up in it, you know, in the celebrity, like that celebrity.
Yeah, and I think the thing is what I can end up doing as of right now is feeling like I think social media has a big influence on our mental health because of what we see on a day-to-day. When you are fed something on a day-to-day basis, it starts to become you start to consume it, and I think it becomes something of your daily lifestyle. So for instance, if I consistently feed myself negativity from these blogs, from these different pages that put out a lot of gossip and things like that, I become one of those gossipers, and I want to be able to start spreading the news of, hey, have you heard this? Hey, have you seen this? And then also just imagine you being a sports person. You're going to follow all these sports pages, so just imagine what your talk is going to be about. Hey, you heard about them trading this person. Have you heard about this contract extension? It's starting to become your environment. So just imagine you seeing that, because obviously we're on our phones a lot of the times and we're seeing social media and we're seeing our feed. So just imagine what we're going through and what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. It's us seeing things that got us to the point where it's like, wow, this is what I'm consuming myself of, and now I'm starting to be that. So just imagine what happens when you're in one of those places where you're mentally not in the right place. And then you start to see negativity and you start to feed off of the negativity. You're feeding off of everything that you see, you hear, just like I was saying like earlier when I was saying like you have to watch what you say because your body responds to it. So you have to stop, you have to do a lot of positive self-talk because believe it or not, your body responds to that. It's crazy how you can literally be thinking something and then say it out loud, knowing how you feel about yourself, and then your body's going to respond to that. Because I mean, in story, it's crazy how your body has its own memory card, you know. So that's another thing I want to actually say about that is knowing that we create an environment, and our news feed is part of our environment because it's something that it's stimulating us every time that we look at it, whether it's positive or negative. So yeah, it's right. One of my friends, like I was in a bad mental place a couple weeks ago. One of my good friends was telling me that you have to start surrounding yourself by more positive energy, but also understanding that the pages you follow, if you are on social media often, they start making it a reflection of what you want to see on your newsfeed. And I started telling myself I want my newsfeed to be a reflection of what I want to be and how I want to be. So then I
Yes.
started changing my newsfeed on being able to be surrounded by, you know, mental health advocates, positivity,
Yeah.
you know, like that fighting stuff,
Mm-hmm.
clothing line stuff. So it gives me ideas and it starts stimulating my mind to not just scroll and get away from reality, but to scroll and educate myself,
Yes.
scroll and be able to find more positive things or start to inspire me. So then it's like, what am I scrolling? What is my purpose of scrolling?
Yes.
Oh, educate, inspire. You know what I'm saying? Then it started to let me understand that I knew my purpose for scrolling is different. So now I'm starting to get more out of my social media as opposed to just let me get on social media and see what I
And
can
just
laugh at.
aimlessly, yeah.
Yeah.
You know
So
something that I did that really helped me with like body image. I love the way I looked, but I started to gain weight. Even though I liked the way it looked, I just was like, you shouldn't look like this. But
okay.
I created a wall in my room that has a bunch of like canvas print pictures and mirrors within so that I could constantly look at myself because I realized that the only reason that I allow other people to tell me how I should feel about myself is because I didn't know what I looked like and all those things. So I just began to see my reflection more, to see who I was, who I am, and all of those things, and say that you are just as beautiful as this painting that's next to this mirror. So that, you know, that was really a way for me to begin like that self-reflection, to say, girl, you got it, regardless what anybody has to say. Regardless
Yeah.
of when you scroll how small her waist is, it don't matter.
Yeah. And that's the thing when I had to start realizing the hard way is that a lot of things that I was going through, I had to realize that it's a lot of things that you're going to be expected to do as a person, as a human being, as an African American, as a female, as a male, as an athlete, as a person from St. Petersburg, as a person of whatever status that you do hold. You're going to have an expectation from any and everybody, personal, or it's just because, oh, you have this kind of status, you should be doing X, Y, and Z. What I had to start realizing upon myself is understanding that I won't be able to meet everybody's expectation. I also had to understand that just because I don't meet your expectation does not ultimately mean that I fail as a person. It ultimately just means that your expectation is not on my priority list. I had to
Yes.
also understand that the things that I want to accomplish may not always be what others may want me to accomplish. So they might not always feel like, oh, okay, this person is who he says he is, or this person is what I perceive him to be. So what I started
Absolutely.
realizing is that I told myself, I will never ever put a lid on the expectations that I receive from others because my goal is not to achieve their expectations. It's to surpass my own expectations. Because
Yes.
you can look at me right now and say that, oh, Adrian is X, Y, and Z, but at the same time, why would that matter if it's not on my to-do list? Why would any of that matter if it's not on my priority list? Now I can see if
Exactly.
if I can see my priority list coincide with yours, then I can see, okay, how can I can see about your perspective of why you feel like I should be what is on your expectations list, and then see how I can then get past that or like that. Because I understand that if I tried to surpass everybody's expectation on their list, I would literally turn into a million different people because there are so many different expectations because I am ultimately trying to be so many different things in one. But the ultimate person I'm actually trying to be is me. I'm just trying to surpass the potential that I can see myself being. So when I realized that, I've ultimately put myself in a different bracket of any kind of expectations because I've never limited myself. So as of
Yes.
right now, I would want somebody to describe me not as Adrian, an MMA fighter, not Adrian Goofy AD from St. Pete. That's not that. I am more than what you can expect me to be.
Yes, you
And
are all of those things and more.
exactly, and less of what you would want me to be. You know why? Because I never limited myself of what you can say that I can ever be. So no, I'm not just a clothing line. I'm not just. I don't just have a clothing line. I'm not just a mental health advocate. I'm all those in one. But I also advocate for everybody else to be able to fulfill their purpose. My thing is, I found more than one purpose. I found more than one thing that I'm good at, and I took it and I ran with it. You know what I'm saying? So when you do that, you
Yeah.
never have to sit here and be a victim of somebody putting the expectations on you and then closing it. You closing the lid. You know what I'm saying? So when I think about that,
It's limitless.
it's like, damn, you know what? I can really do whatever I want. Like right now, if I said I'm gonna be a rapper, I could do it. Why
You could do it.
I don't, nothing would stop me except for me or my close friends telling me that I couldn't do it. But also, you know what would really stop me from doing it is
What?
myself. You know why? Because this is the thing. I can receive all the advice in the world from anything, from anything. But ultimately, I have the power to move my body. I have the power to do everything and anything that I want to do. So, have you ever gave one of your close friends advice? Like let's just say for instance, your close friend got some dude issues, and you told him, bro, stop messing with him. He no good for you. Ultimately, you gave her the advice. Ultimately, you done gave her game, told her what's up and all that stuff like that. But ultimately, you know what she has the power to do? Any and everything that she really is chosen to do. You know why? Because she made her mind. She controls her whole body. And she has her mind made up, whether you give her the right or wrong advice, because she is in the driver's seat to make her future. You know, so when I look at it like that, it's like, wow, I can understand or have advice and give perspective from other people. But if I ultimately have my mind made up of where I'm going, it doesn't matter what anybody would say that would be next to me, because you know what can never stop me? A word can never stop me.
Never. You know what I think this is really important to apply what you're saying is with a parent-child relationship. I think that you should 100% take every expectation of what your child should be like or what your parents should be like to you and how they should treat you and throw it out the window, because your parents had a whole life and were people before you even got here, and your parents have, everyone has dreamed about what their kids are going to grow up and be like, and kids are their own person too. So you 100% gotta, you know, just separate the expectation that you have on parenting.
Exactly. Separate. Yeah. It's the matter of separating what you want for your child and what your child wants for themselves.
Yes.
And separating, understanding the two. Because maybe I want my child to be an athlete, or maybe I want my child to be a banker because they're smart with numbers and good with numbers. But in their mind, they're like, I want to travel the world. I just want to eat food in different countries.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. I can understand that, but let's get a plan with that. Like how do you plan on doing that in a way to where you can be able to benefit yourself and be able to have a great foundation, so that we don't have to figure out so we don't have to worry about you being on your own, you know, because we want to have, because I feel like anybody can do whatever they want. I just want them to have a realistic plan so they can then execute in a proper fashion, so they don't have to worry about having plan B, plan C, plan D, because you executed plan A in a fashionable manner, you know? So that's how I feel about that, because I know I've been in situations where I feel like I've had people be like, oh, Adrian, you should be a doctor. Hey, Adrian, man, you so goofy, you should be a comedian. Hey, you do that. You do that shit. You do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate the feedback and stuff like that, but you do it. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, what's crazy is that I can do all that and more, but I say all that to tell everybody else that you should be able to do the same thing. You should feel the same way. It's being able to find your potential, because I'm telling you, like, whoever you believe in, God, Allah, anything, I feel like when He created us, nobody gave us one single purpose. I don't think there was ever just one single purpose. I don't think there was ever just one single gift that He gave us. So for us to be able to have the ability to be able to think, have a thought process, and to be able to have opportunities put in front of us to be able to execute, so we can then arise and learn more. I think it's such a whole beautiful theory for us to be able to
come on, AD.
Yeah, I feel like it's a whole beautiful thing for us to maximize our time on Earth. So when you think about it in that fashion, it's like, damn, what am I really doing with my life, and how can I go about it in a better way, you know?
So I got a question.
How
do you really approach informing, like, the youth and their parents about mental health? You know?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Because I know that you work around kids. So how do you really educate them and just inform the youth about mental health?
The first thing you start off with is taking the proper approach. Nobody's going to ever listen to you if you do not take the proper approach. Even with the president or any kind of candidate or anybody who is trying to get a vote, or anybody trying to win over likeness, they're trying to get to the point where we're all trying to figure out how to take the proper approach to catch somebody's attention. You do it, believe it or not, you do it with a lot of different things. Imagine your profile picture. Imagine if you were to make a book. Look at the cover of the book. Imagine you're trying to catch a girl's attention. My approach. Imagine what you wear. Imagine what, like, you know, a lot of things we do is based off of approach. So my thing is, if you come to your children like with the proper approach and educating them like this is a norm, not something that they not something that I would say something that they need to know, but it's the approach of letting them know how they need to know it, or why they need to know it, or why it's so important. And then it's like, oh, okay, this is part of our daily life. This is something I do
Yes.
want to know about, you know? So you don't make it a chore. You make it something as far as like knowing that, hey, I would love for you to know more about this because it puts you in a better situation later on in life. Just like you may think that it's important to let them tie their shoes or how to better wipe themselves or bathe themselves. I think it's just important, even if not more important, to be able to let them know about the significance of mental health and what it is, so that then they can then know the proper way to be able to take care of themselves mentally when there is no mom, dad, teacher, or best friend.
So they're not out here throwing temper tantrums because they don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
One thing, my godson is going to kindergarten. Oof. He was telling me how he was just so nervous. And I was like, why are you nervous? You're going to do so good. And people think that stuff like that is like babying or, you know, whatever you want to call it. But it's you see such a difference when you speak positivity in the kids. Like when you tell them that you can do whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do, you're going to do it, and you're going to be great at it. You may be scared of kindergarten, but guess what? You're going to show up on the first day. You're going to do great, and you're not going to be afraid. You know, and he's like, yeah, you're right.
Because they started visualizing it. They started visualizing like,
he just realized that he didn't even know what he was afraid of. He was simply afraid because it was something he had never done before. Exactly. And you know, you just have to let kids know there's nothing here. There's nothing in life that you should fear or that should put fear in your heart. Whatever you want to do, you do that.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be.
I think it's just a matter of not having the proper plan to be able to execute in a fashion that you feel like will be favorable for you. You know, so it's like I know we all are like afraid of things that we cannot change or things that we feel like of uncertainty. But I think that we all are put ourselves in the driver's seat of being able to make better decisions once we have a proper plan put in place. Whether we feel like it's going to be 85% successful or 35% successful, I'm more comfortable with having a plan, regardless if it's going to work or not.
You never know. You should always take the chance. I don't care if it's 2% that it's going to be successful. You should try, because there is 2% that is going to be successful.
And I think
never hold yourself short of that.
And the thing is, I think that we all should find value in the effort of trying things, and not just holding ourselves, being content with only working out things that are deemed appealing for our I guess,
demographic.
Ourselves. Yeah, demographic. Perfect. That's like our demographic.
Is that the second word of the day?
Yeah, demographic. That's that second word of the day. Because I feel like, you know, for instance, like for instance, certain things like, you know, everybody be like, oh, you got a cat. To them, it's like, okay, that's not deemed something that'll be like, oh, you need to have or you should have. But at the same time, it's like, if I ever succumb to your expectations and would always feel like, damn, I should do this because what people are going to think about me, I'm never going to be able to be the person I would truly want to be or seek happiness, because my happiness is going to rely on the tongue of other. Oh my! Hey, if I was a preacher, they put $20 in that
offering plate right now. Right now.
But yeah, though, it's true though. So I just think that's just the significance of it, because I never want to be a victim of anybody's tongue, because you know what I'll end up being? I'll be a shapeshifter. Every time that you say that you don't like something I do, I'll have to change it. So I'll only be chasing the happiness from your tongue, and that's crazy. I would never want to do that.
Yeah, never.
That's awful. But moving along, now think about that social media on a larger scale, how different outlets have influenced our mental health from social media to peer pressure, self-image, and also other variables. I think that there are different social media outlets that have influenced us to think in a certain way and normalize certain things. Like, for instance, like you know how crazy it is to watch somebody die, but to know that they can be recorded and be put on social media for anybody and everybody to see. I think that's so crazy. I also think there's different intimate moments that shouldn't be shared, you know, like, but that's just me. Because I know that if, like, for instance, if one of my loved ones would die in front of me, I'm not taking a picture of them and uploading it, letting my condolences be shared on social media. But that's me. You know, like, not saying, like, I mean, I can obviously see we're in a funeral and stuff and I take a picture, or I'm not gonna take a picture of the body or anything like that and put on social media. But my thing is, for somebody to pass away and then to put it on social media for certain reasons, or to be able to cry
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of your crying, you stop. You take your selfie. You put a caption and you upload it. The problem I have with that is a lot of intimate moments are passed through social media, and it's almost like you're not really in the moment with certain things because you feel like it has to be witnessed by people who are not there at the moment. You know,
Why do you think people do that?
You know why I think people do that? I think because I think people want to they want to reap the benefit from people who are not there at the moment for them to be able to get expressed from that, so that there's something that they want to achieve from other people seeing it. For instance, people who give food or money to the homeless and they record it, I feel like they want to have the gratification of other people seeing them do something good and knowing that they are doing something good and knowing that they do stuff like this on a regular basis or something like that. So I think that's why people do stuff like that. Also, I think why people cry and they record themselves or load it with a picture or something like that, so that they can then get sympathy or empathy from others. And it's also almost like a cry for help.
Right.
In a sense, whether it's on a big or a small scale. That's what I think ultimately.
I want to play devil's advocate. So we talked about seeing more positive things on our timeline. And if people feel like, oh, I've given food to the homeless or I'm doing these things, and if I record it, people are going to think that I'm doing it for fame. But aren't those the things that we want to see on our timeline? Like,
right.
I mean, I don't want to see nobody cry. Keep that. But as far as doing good things, yes, there are people who do it simply to record the video, but there are people who put it out there to say, like, I'm doing good in the world today. Like, I encourage you to do the same thing. You know, so how do we differentiate, or how do you learn to see the difference in those things?
You go back to my word of the day, perspective. You learn perspective. You understand why they're doing it and where they're coming from, to understand that people do certain things for certain reasons. And I know a lot of the times we see certain things and we say like, oh, they're doing this for clout. But we have to also understand that people have different perspectives and different reasons behind why they do certain things that they do. But a lot of people deem recording. I feel like a lot of people deem recording the homeless, and they coincide that with flexing or doing things for clout, because saying things like that are intimate. Because I know, like, for instance, if I was on the other side of it, and you know, I'm down and out, and I'm going through what I'm going through, and I'm homeless for whatever reason, because I don't want to say bum, because there's a lot of reasons why people are homeless for a lot of different reasons,
and they stay homeless because that's their community. They like being in that community.
Yeah, that too, but it's also hard to bounce back and try to get a job somewhere who's going to be able to take somebody who has a background like that. So, you know, I really, I ain't gonna lie, when I was little, maybe because I'm just so sensitive or whatever like that, I used to always pass homeless people, like, say if I'm on a school bus, I used to always, like, low-key start crying, like, because I never wanted to be in that position, but I always felt like, why are they in that position? Like, people are really, like, without a home. Because I used to think about, dang, just imagine what happened if I didn't have a bed or if my mom wasn't here to be able to feed me. So, like, I'm like, bro, I would be homeless.
And then think about what the city does. The city says find somewhere else to go.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't lay on this public property right here.
Yeah,
you can't go sleep on the bench in the park while no one is here.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I think it's from the city saying, oh, it's throwing off the attraction of the place, because people feel as though if I don't want to visit this place if I see homeless people everywhere, so it takes away the glamour of the place. But at the same time, these are people you're valuing glamour over somebody's life. How about you start?
Like, why don't you want to tell the truth?
Yeah.
In our city, we have homeless people. We need to be honest about that. I don't care. We can take our city, for example. We have a beautiful pier that we just built. And I just was there. They have a fishing dock. A man homeless sleep on the bench. And I know they kicked him out. But it's like, how are you going to try and hide the truth of our city? How are you trying to hide the fact that these people are citizens? These people can go and vote. They have a say-so in this city just as much as everyone else. They just, for whatever reason, have ended up on the streets, hit hard times, ended up on drugs, whatever it is. You can't just push them around. They are citizens, just like the people who come in here and patronize these businesses. So you shouldn't, you know?
I'm like the devil's advocate. Then how much money or efforts do you put into being able to rehabilitate these homeless people to be able to know that these are proper ways to be able to go about it? Because, you know, these tax dollars would then be something I feel like will be utilized if it was to be able to rehabilitate homeless people, because then I think they look at it as, okay, we have middle class, low class, high class, but we also do have things lower than low class, you know. So
Yes.
it's like, then what efforts are they going to be put into people who literally are deemed homeless? Because you have people who are literally homeless. You have people who are like homeless, like no clothes, no nothing, then no family, and then you have different, like, I feel like there's different like types of homeless like that. So like, how do you then be able to give all those people the proper help and in the proper fashion, you know? So
yes,
I feel like
there are other people in our community who need to be hired. I'm speaking on right now St. Pete, because we spent a few $1,000,000 building a pier when we could have put $500,000 into rebuilding the old pier and leaving it there, and taking the other 1.5 million and investing it into our community. We could have made a, homeless complex where these people can, find shelter, because hurricane season is coming. Where do homeless people go during hurricane season? Where can they go? Giving them somewhere to go, somewhere they can bathe and go to job interviews, because there are people who genuinely want to do better. But if sitting outside, sleeping outside is all that you got, of course you're just gonna say, forget it. Don't nobody care about me. Don't nobody want to do nothing. There are so many things that our city can do, but they care about glamorizing it. When it's like, what? And then the product that you get don't even be worth $2 million. So it's like,
I can understand that.
you can
Things
make
like that.
employees out of these people. They can work. They have the ability to do so.
Yeah.
They just need the opportunity, and the opportunity is not there.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like things like this make me want to be able to sit in on those meetings and be able to see what are the priorities of being able to give back to the community and things like that. So that's why I try to do my self justice and the community justice by being able to speak on these topics, because I can always start with education. I feel like education is the first thing you can be able to do, be able to educate people, not even on this is the proper term to use here, this is the proper term to use there. No, but educating people on the significance of mental health, what it is, being able to start right there, like, and then be able to build off of that. Because then what you can do so much with peace of mind. You can do so much with that. I give you material things all day, but if I give you the skill, you can be able to do that for yourself forever. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I take it upon myself to be able to talk about this because I'm passionate about it, but also because I know that me having a platform, not say I got the biggest platform, but I have a platform at least, and I know there are some people who actually find some genuine or some knowing that my words hold some type of magnitude to understand, like, okay, he's speaking some sense. It's not he's just out here just talking crazy, but he's at least speaking some sense. So when you think about it in that fashion, I'm like, you know what? I'll do my part by doing that. So yeah. Definitely. So let me see what part are we on now.
I think we covered a lot of this up here.
Yeah, what type of approach do you take? Oh yeah, we did. What type of approach you take? Yeah, we did. Parents.
Who do you turn to?
Oh yeah. So also, yeah. So who do I turn to when I do feel alone or want to find positive alternatives to turn to when things start to take a turn for the worse? Lord have mercy.
You asking me, or you gonna answer this one?
I'm letting you go first.
Okay, who do I turn to? Okay, so by the grace of God, I can call my mom at any time of the day now. So I can call on her when I have those times. But unfortunately, when I could not pick up the phone and call her, it was me and God. And I just always trusted the intuition that God gave me to say that this is right, this is what you should do, this is really how you feel, and I'll move everything around you to make that happen. So that's really that I can say that that's who I turn to. I have amazing friends in my life. Like, that is just the biggest blessing that I have ever gotten, is real, genuine friends.
It's crazy.
No matter what it is, I can pick up the phone at 3:00 in the morning and I got a friend I can call.
Yeah, I got a question though. Do you ever feel like you get in a situation where you can't call those close friends? Because I feel like I'm one of those people that overthink. Well, obviously I got a disorder, so I can't help but. You can't call them, or you won't call them because you either being a bother, or because ultimately you feel like you've done something so wrong you don't want to hear the truth from them, or ultimately because you don't feel comfortable with telling them, or at this point in time, I don't even feel like being in no therapy session. I kind of just want to be by myself with what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Do you ever feel like
Yes.
it goes forward?
There are many times before I reach out to friends, I sit with myself because, like I said, I want to listen to what God has to tell me. I
Okay.
don't want to, I would love to hear other perspectives because what I could just be sitting and thinking with myself could just be too much.
Okay.
But before anything, before reaching anybody, I'm going to sit with myself. And there are some things that I genuinely like to deal with on my own. Like, I just like for it to be me and God. God, you tell me what is destined for my life. You take that intuition and you go with it. And I'll go to my friends and say, this is what I've experienced. This is what I've been through. You know, and they get the why ain't you tell me? But, you know, there are times, it depends on the situation and what
Yeah.
it is.
So,
When it
yeah.
comes to things that I feel like I have done personally or done unto myself, I don't really seek advice for that. If
Yeah.
there are things that have happened to me or things that are out of my control that I don't have the best understanding on, immediately going to my mom, my family, my friends, you know, in those instances. But if it's something I did, I'm gonna sit with myself on that one.
All right. Hey, before I answer this question, we got 2 minutes left. So what we're
Okay.
gonna do is we're gonna end up going on another IG live, another session right after this one. I'm gonna make sure I save this one so that people will be able to have access to it, and I'm gonna still upload nowhere. So I'm gonna end up uploading this one, so people will be able to have access to it, and
Okay.
also be able to jump on this other lives because we're gonna be continuing this episode.
All
So,
right. We'll be right back.
all right.
Hey, bro, all of my friends said that they couldn't see it on my page. I'm upset.
They be lying. No, I'm playing.
Yeah, all y'all down there, y'all be lying.
Hey, lying. No, I'm playing. I don't know. Like, maybe they couldn't see it on your page. Maybe they had to go to my page to see that you live. I don't know.
I feel like Instagram just don't want me to be great or I'm just not famous enough. That's just what it is.
I don't know, cause I don't know. Cause I feel like it send out alerts. Like say I go live, it's gonna send out alerts
Yeah,
that I was live,
I thought so too.
and then they'll say it's now live with so and so, and they'll send out alert again. But shit,
I
I
don't
don't.
know. They here now. Let me
Yeah.
let me get some more wine.
Let me get some more wine.
You drink wine?
Yeah, I'll sip here now. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
Tonight
she
we're
said,
featuring a nice German Riesling.
oh, okay, 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 okay. Little Bob setup. You know what I'm saying? Little Bob setup.
Girl, save me some. It's some in here. Let me see.
Little
Can you
Kona.
see?
Little Kona, yo. Little Kona.
Yeah, it's enough. It's a nice little glass or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look.
since you see the lashes.
So,
Okay,
all
next one.
right. So, back what we were saying. All right. So, if you just not tuning in, like what we were talking about was, um, we talked about who do I turn to when I feel alone, or if I want to find positive alternatives to turn to when things take a turn for the worse. So, I mean, you've answered already, so I feel like it's my turn to be able to answer about, what do I
Yes.
do? What do I do?
Yeah. Who do
Also,
you run to?
yeah, that's crazy. As soon as I said that, I thought,
When I need love.
got to do the little, baby, the little,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? A little, you dig. But to be honest, I'm one of those people that, I mean, it's crazy as it sounds. I still suffer from abandonment issues and things that I went through in my childhood. So I still suffer from that trauma from that. So me, it's kind of hard for me to be able to confide in somebody because ultimately I understand that when stuff hits the fan again, I ultimately know that you may not always be there to save the day or save the day in the fashion that I want you to be or save the day in the fashion that I would want you to. So I find myself at between a rock and a hard place by being my own rock or being my own
Yes.
advocate or being my own therapist, because I ultimately know that I'm gonna be the person that cares the most about whatever I'm going through, because it's my problem and nobody else may not care much about what I'm going through as much as me. And then I got a situation where what happens when I go through what I go through? Are you ultimately going to be there every time I do, or are you going to understand that, and you be going through a lot of stuff? Like, I don't know if I can sit here and go through all this with you. You know what I'm saying? And so I've gotten to the point where I've had, loved ones leave when things got gotten tough. So it got me in a place where if my loved one who've known me for this amount of years, went through these amount of things with me, and they've left because of X, Y, and Z for problems that I don't, or for reasons that I can't validate for, it puts me in a situation where mentally I don't want to ever be put in that situation again from somebody that I don't trust as much as I trust that loved one. So when I put myself in a situation, a thing like that, it makes me think like, dang, I'm gonna go through this solo. You feel me? I'm gonna just go through this solo, but then I realize that I can't ultimately still let my past cripple me or be my crutch. I have to let it be my fuel to let me keep going and understand that I never want to be in that place mentally. So, but the thing is, when I think about it like that, within the same breath, I'd be like, I don't want to be there mentally. So if I don't want to be there mentally, that means you don't trust nobody and don't confide in anybody, because you'll never be there mentally, because you will never be able to have to confide in them or for them to let you down. But I know in order for me to grow and for me to be able to let anybody in, for me to be able to find happiness and peace within myself and within my past issues, I have to be able to let more people in and create more pain through letting somebody in, so to let me know that these are part of the processes of people being able to experience what you have going on, if that makes sense. So
yes, and I want to tell you and anybody else who feels this way that is simply fear. It is just fear. It's the same fear that you have before going to fight, before a big game, before anything. It is that same fear, and the same way you overcome it and say, I'm about to get out here and play the best game I can play. I'm going to fight to the best of my ability. You have to do the same in life, because it is simply just fear. And who's to say what fear is? And why should you let anything bring fear to you?
Yeah, and that's the thing.
If you're going to be vulnerable, be vulnerable. If you're going to tell somebody how you feel, you never know how that person can relate to you, understand you, and what's going on. Like, you just simply never know. You can't say, oh, you're not going to feel me. Because I could feel you. You just think I can't feel you.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. I feel like we get people that get into that situation where they're more comfortable with being vulnerable by themselves, because they don't want to know if somebody's going to feel them or not, because they may deem themselves as crazy or putting themselves in a position of like, you know what, I'm going to let go and let God. I ain't going to get this to nobody else but God. And that's okay, but I feel like there's also other I would say procedures that you can go through for you to be able to be protected, because all of us are covered in the blood. I mean, I'm a big believer of knowing that, hey, I'm protected by God. I'm covered in the blood. I said, I'll be fine through whatever. But at the same time, there has to be a certain plan put in place so that you don't ultimately have to feel like just because you're going through what you're going through, that it has to be just you, or that you're the only one who has experienced this. So me being the person that I am today, I'm still struggling with this, oh man, you're going to leave when things get hard, or if I ultimately give my all to you, how do I know that you're going to be the person that's going to be there for me and only just you? So am I confiding in you? Do I confide in anybody else? So like, my thing is, you're right, you do need some real human interaction sometimes.
Yes, you do need real human interaction, because that's what the feel is like. You could just be so, you can get into a depression and you could simply have that interaction with a human who just says, I understand. That could be the only thing that they say.
And you know what's crazy? It can get to the point where you're so alone, you be so content with being alone, because it's like, this is what I'm used to. So you get so you be so content with wanting to be alone, because you like, damn, I know that I can't leave myself, so I'd rather just sit right here and mope. Not only just mope, and the thing is, the problem with that is then you turn into such a dark person that you don't even realize it, because now when somebody want to help you out in the littlest fashion, you never want to give them the time of day, because you understand that the letdown that you experienced before, you never want to be able to handle that again. So we find ourselves in a cycle of suffering, solo, not being social, and this was a whole bunch of, so when I find myself,
that is me.
And that's me though, you feel me? And that's the thing, because I feel like, damn, I experienced so many things on so many different scales. It gets me to the point where it's like, who the hell really gonna love me if I'm going through all of this? You know what I'm saying? Who gonna really be able to? Who gonna really be able to take the time out to be able to be the person that I need them to be when I'm going through it, when I want them to be? And the thing is, as a male, And as a Black African American male, we find ourselves in situations where it's so hard to be able to open up because it's not so easy for us to be able to be that vulnerable, that sensitive, because it hasn't been, I guess, favorable or out in our favor for it to be able to be, I guess, favorable for us to do that because of what's happened in the past when we have done that. So it's more, I would say more acceptable for a female to do it. Not in my eyes. I feel like everybody should open up. I feel like everybody should be vulnerable.
Yes.
We all need that side of ourselves.
You just simply need to get it out.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us be able to deal with it in different ways, but also all of us find coping mechanisms that help, but also that are successful. And the thing is, I'm gonna educate people who don't know what coping mechanism or coping skills are. A coping skill is something that helps you get through whatever you're going through in a successful way. Now, for instance, say if I'm a person that I cope by drinking. You know, I drink. I'm a drinker. Say I'm a drinker. I'm not, but let's just say I'm a drinker. That is a successful coping skill. Now, ultimately, let's just say that my coping skill is cutting. I don't cut myself, but let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that my coping skill is cutting. That is a successful coping skill. Is it a positive coping skill? No, but it's a successful coping skill. Why? Because it works for me. But is it positive? No, I'm harming myself. Every time that I hurt myself again. It is not a positive one. Now, in your eyes, you may think it is positive because it's helping you get through what you're going through, but at the same time, how many of you guys can relate to understanding that this particular coping skill that you do is detrimental to you, but it's helping you get through what you're going through, but it's not ultimately the problem. So my thing is, we have to understand that we can't always try to escape the false reality of what's going on, but sometimes we have to actually sit in that reality and understand that there are solutions that we can go through, but also it's okay to know that we are going through what we're going through, and then getting through that, but also finding a solution to get out of that. Because I know sometimes we go through stuff back to back, and it feels so good to just be like, man, fuck it, I'm just gonna fuck it, like, you know what I'm saying?
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna do whatever.
Back to my old ways.
Exactly. Go back to my old ways, but also I'm gonna go through what I go through. Shit, some more bad stuff will happen, so I'm gonna just keep doing bad shit, and then now you find yourself in a cycle of all that. And then you done so much wrong, you don't even want to confide in anybody else because now they're gonna tell you all the stuff you done did wrong and what you need to do right, but you feel like you know right, but you're not even gonna open up to try to even go the right way because every time you do right, it go wrong. You feel me?
Yeah, and this is another reason I suggest therapy. Because take example for the person you said who cuts themselves. You can be very honest with your therapist. They have heard much worse. But your therapist will help you find ways to turn a successful mechanism into a positive one. So they'll say, you know, there are things that will trigger your brain in the same way like running or boxing, where you get the same physical action. Yes. So they, you know, and therapists, because when one thing has worked, even if it's harmful, like cutting, you continue to do it until they say, have you tried boxing? Have you tried running? Have you tried dancing? Have you tried any? Yes, they give you these things that say it is going to treat your brain the same way. Your brain is going to see it as the same reaction as cutting yourself, you know? And it's really about retraining your brain. That's really something that my therapist told me is just like, you know, like rethinking. Jai, I agree. Therapy is the best. It was a great experience.
And understand this, for people who feel like therapy is for people who are then deemed crazy, or you have to go to therapy when things hit the fan only. It is not for when things only hit the fan. It is not only when you feel like, okay, now I feel like I'm crazy. Now something's out of the ordinary.
Or now I feel like I'm good.
Exactly. So the thing is, you have to understand that therapy is something that's normal. Counseling is something that's normal. You have to understand like if you think about it like this, it's all about perspective. Therapy, a therapist or a counselor is that best friend that is there for you, that's supposed to be there for you unconditionally because they have a passion for doing this.
Yes,
so
and your therapist is not your yes man. Do not go to therapy thinking that you're getting a yes man.
Exactly. And understand this, when you are seeking therapists, you're seeking solutions to get you through what you're going through, not to go to therapy for them to be able to not just, you know what, this is the problem. All right, go ahead, take this medicine, or hey, do this, and this is only it. Because there is no definite or one plan that's going to fix everything. You know, the therapist is to show you what was inside you to help you get through what you're going through. Not just to be like, hey, this is the solution. All right, go ahead and go take care of it. So that's what I know. I think people need to figure out, but also give it a try too. There's also free consultations for people who feel like they want to give therapy a try but don't have the money or just want to see what it's about. So please be able to utilize those resources, because I promise you,
Yes.
if therapy was as expensive, or if mental health wasn't as needed out there, it would be just of what you would think it is, with all these negative connotations about it being so expensive. But if you take the time to do the proper research about everything, you will get everything that you're looking for. It just takes that little time for you to be able to make that much time and effort, and make it mean that much more to you, so that you can find the positive and the right alternatives to get you to what you're going through.
Yes,
So,
this is the same thing like when you're talking about going to a doctor versus going to a therapist. Why are you
exactly.
willing to pay this high price to a medical doctor, but you're not willing to pay the price of your therapist? They have gone to school for just as long. They have to do residencies just like a doctor. Your insurance covers therapy just like it covers going to a doctor's visit. Like, things
You
are
know,
expensive. I dare you to go to your doctor without insurance and say, this is what I need done.
because
Go
it's
to
more
your
socially
dentist and say,
accepted.
this is what I need done.
It's more
And,
socially accepted, because you know why? When we get hurt when we were little, when we get hurt when we were in school, when we get hurt, and all those times we go to the hospital, we go to the doctor. But when we have a temper tantrum, we have a mental breakdown, and we have stuff we got going on, we go to mom, we go to dad, we go to friends, we go to help, which is not wrong. So
right.
my thing is, we latch onto those kind of alternatives when we do go through things when we're older, and then when we can't follow those alternatives, or if they're not working in the fashion that we want them to work on, want them to help, then we find ourselves in between a rock and a hard place, because our alternatives
Yes.
haven't working. And then when you then have somebody be like, hey, try therapy, try counseling, try talking to these people, then we have that negative connotation of thinking that I'm not crazy. I know what's going on with me. I know how to fix it. Well, if you knew how to fix it, you wouldn't be in the situation that you're in right now. You know, so,
Hello. Can the
yeah.
church say amen?
So I think that's just one of the things that we have to start associating and erasing these negative like connotations and these social stigmas surrounded
Yes.
by therapy and mental health. That's the reason why I talk
Listen.
about these different things like that, because a lot of us have these biases built up within ourselves on what's going on, and it's not ultimately the truth. So that's kind of how I feel about that, because I feel like if I knew more about what mental health was back in the day, I knew I would have opened up way more when I was little, when I had my problems, or I had my issues of feeling like, why does I feel like everybody leave me for particular reasons, or why I feel like I have to be vulnerable or have to be at my very lowest for me to finally feel like, all right, I might trust you. All right, I might trust you. You know what I mean? So,
And
and go ahead.
thankfully, growing up, my mom has always listened to my opinion. Even as a kid, she would say, I think she joined a while ago. She might still be in here. But she just would always like, even if I felt like it wasn't applied, my opinion, I knew that my mom would listen to it. So I never had a problem saying, this is how I feel, unless I felt like I was wrong. Because like I said, I don't like to, I don't like to be told I can't do something. So when I fail, those are totally different things.
Oh,
But my mom, she has been like my therapist, which is why I think my therapy experience was the way it was. I had a very homegirl experience. Like, she my friends.
hey, so Shashide, so do y'all
Hey,
think that you,
mommy.
huh?
I'm saying hey to my mama. She said she's still in here.
Oh, okay. So do y'all think you must go to therapy to have a completely healthy mind? No, I don't think so. I don't
No.
think that therapy. I don't think you have to understand. A therapist is not going to be the environment that's going to be the environment that you have to create to have a healthy mind. They can be the person that trigger you to put you in the driver's seat to be able to take you to having a healthy mind. A healthy mind is the environment that you create within your mental, but also within your physical space. So for me to know that I want to have a healthy environment, a healthy mental, a healthy physical, I have to then put myself in a situation where I surround myself with positivity, but also be an optimist in the likes or in the very essence and depths of negativity as well, because we're surrounded by negativity. We are surrounded by variables that are going to put us in a situation where we feel like, damn, it's not going right, or this may
Yes.
be wrong, stuff like that. So when we think about things like this, a therapist is not the person that's going to make everything right. You ultimately have
Yes.
to be the person that makes everything right. That's what I feel.
Yes.
I feel like
And
therapists definitely help you get to the place, though.
I will also say it's not needed, but therapy is not like this lifelong thing. Like, like doctors, as soon as I take on this doctor, you're my primary care physician. It don't happen like that. I went to therapy for probably 5, 6, 7 sessions. And that was it. If I
Yeah.
feel the need, like I need that, then I will seek her. We'll do a few more sessions, and that's it. But therapy is not a lifelong thing. You can go to therapy for 2 sessions, 1 session. Therapy is about the experience that you need, and when you feel like you have made it to, that point. Who is
Yeah,
this?
but I will
Oh, my
say this.
little brother.
I will say this.
Hey.
I will say this though. You have to ultimately also go into therapy with an open mind, because you have to understand there's going to be a lot of things that you may go in there and you may not agree with, or you may not understand at the moment. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to go in there with somebody who's going to be like, okay, precisely, this is who you are. Like, that's not
Yes.
also going
No.
to. You have to ultimately understand that there are things that's going to happen in that therapy session where you may have a breakthrough or you may not. But you have to also be open-minded enough to know that you have to be truthful with your therapy. There cannot be any kind of help or any kind of justice or any kind of ground to be gained if you are not fully honest with the therapy.
Honest.
How do you expect to have
Just
help?
like a physical doctor.
Exactly. I can't go to the doctor and tell them like my arm is broke, but I'm telling them I think I fractured it,
It don't hurt that bad.
it don't hurt that bad. I can't get the proper help if I'm not honest with them about the whole truth about everything.
Yes,
Like,
whole truth to your therapist and your doctor. That's the only
exactly,
way you get things fixed.
exactly. You won't get the proper help. My thing is, why would you go? Like, my thing is, why would you want to go to a doctor knowing that your arm broke and they give you headache medicine? Like, the hell, you just messed your whole time up about getting the proper help because you felt like you didn't want to get judged. I mean, hell, I'd rather you judge the hell out of me and then me finally get the help that I need, as opposed to me figuring out what somebody gonna say about me. Like, we didn't go to see the gossip, we went to go seek help. Like, if you're gonna judge me and you chose to choose this path to be able to help people like me, and you can just sit here and judge me. I don't worry about you judging me. If you look at it like that, then it's like you're the biggest problem. You can't let
Yeah.
your anxiety be the problem of what you have going on, for real. But you move at your own pace. You may not be upfront at the first, which is true. That is
Yes.
true. I'm
You
not
don't you
saying
don't just come in there and be like,
it's
spill
never,
out everything I've ever
yeah,
done in life.
never like that. You
Really?
got to build rapport.
Your first session is more like a consultation. Your therapist will say, what are some things you want me to know about you?
For sure.
Why are you here? What are some issues that you face? Blah, 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 blah. And as time goes on, you expound, our second word of the day. You will expound on those things. You will say, okay, well, I want to talk about my relationship with my parents. Okay, I want
Yeah.
to talk about my love life, and I want to try and figure out those things. And you may spend 3 or 4 sessions on one topic, and they just bleed into other things. And you really learn so much more about yourself. You're like, wow, this really does affect these other things in my life,
Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing though. A lot of the services that are out there, they're not publicized. Is what I
Or
think.
they're not beneficial. Them people,
Yeah,
they don't be caring.
yeah, I do.
They don't get paid enough to
Respect.
efficiently do their job.
Yeah, I believe that. So too, like I feel like a lot of the like for instance, like stuff like this is somebody going the extra mile to be able to get information out there and speak their mind about the topics that they hold near and dear to their heart. So yeah, you are right. There are services that are out there that are not beneficial enough, but that can get you in the right direction. But they're not. The people are in the right avenue to be able to be the right person that can facilitate the proper stuff,
Yes.
resources that is to the right people. So I do agree with that. But you can say that about every field. You know what I'm saying? Because there are some people that are there because hey, I ended up being here because hell, my education or I knew this right person. I'm here, so my check need to be here when I get here. And stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
or I just graduated college. I need a job. It's paying me
yeah,
right now. So let me
sure,
go talk to some people.
yeah.
And
So
unfortunately, there are people in those fields, and they typically work where services are free,
oh yeah,
and
yeah.
it's unfortunate, but like I mentioned before, insurance covers therapy. If you have insurance to go to the doctor or the dentist, you have insurance to go seek a therapist. They accept the same insurance, okay?
Also, my thing is you're doing yourself a disservice if you are going to a particular person, a friend, when like I wouldn't say when you know what they're going to say, or if you're going to them knowing that they're going to be biased. Like for instance, I
Yeah,
know
they're
that
gonna tell you what you want to hear.
exactly. So like for instance, if I know that
I got a good, say if I got a good friend right now, and I know that every time I got something going on that's wrong, it's never my fault. If I hear that all the time, I'm honestly going to start to believe it's never my fault. But my thing is, I have to start realizing the type of advice that I need to take, but also understanding that I need to go to an avenue where I know that's going to give me unbiased opinions, you know, and understand. Obviously, when people come to me about their problems, I always give them 2, 3 like different perspectives. Play devil's advocate. I play devil's advocate. I give them my perspective, and I also give them the right and wrong way to go about it. Reason being is they ultimately have to make the choice of understanding what they did, understanding what the other person did, understanding how they could have went about it better, but also giving them solutions about how they can do it when the situation arises again, and how they can learn from this, and then like be able to go about it better in the future. So when I started to offer that, it's like so much education in one little part of a conversation that they can take away from that. So it puts them in a where they can like it's putting them in a position of power. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's about self-reflection.
Yeah,
like you gotta look at yourself. Hey, if you did it, you did it. We are all capable of doing things that we never thought we would do. Like, nobody here is perfect, but I think a lot of people hold themselves to perfection. And I think, that can be the downfall of other things, or holding other people to perfection. We talked about the parent-child dynamic. You can't hold your parent to perfection. They are human beings just like you. They're going to fail. They are learning to do all these things the same way you are learning to be yourself. So you got to look at yourself and just say, you know what? I stumbled right here. How can I get up?
Right. And I think a real thing is like understanding that we fall in love with a potential that we feel like we want to reach, and then we feel like we're going off that path or that track. We feel like we're failing ourselves or the people around us who still see us in that same light. For instance, I feel like for the longest, I've always wanted to be this person where I feel like, I want to be this big figure. I want to be this person that would, achieve fame, achieve the riches, to be able to take care of my family and stuff like that, and always be the complete opposite of what I felt like my dad was. And then I feel like I would be doing myself a disservice if I were to be doing anything along the likes of what he did. And so when I call myself being or doing things that I feel like he would do, or that he did something similar to, I told myself, wow, I'm going to be just like this person. And then when I started realizing stuff like that, it put me in a situation where I was like, damn, I don't want to be like that. I want to be better. I want to be able to achieve more. I want to be able to do more. Knowing the odds of a Black African American, like knowing the odds of African American male coming from St. Petersburg, Florida, south side of it, and then knowing what the odds are never in our favor for us to ever succeed or to make it out of that city, or to even graduate, So to know that making it this far shows the resilience, but also I had to understand that I have to give myself a pat on the back to be able to know that the little battles that I did fight, I have to show it. It shows something. You have to start giving yourself a sense of I'll say celebration, to know that the little battles that you fight on a day-to-day basis are things that you should reward yourself for, because there's a lot of things that you probably would have never went through or got through if it wasn't for you, if that makes sense. So like that's what I had to start realizing as well. It's like, you not just saying like, oh well, I got in an argument and I shut my mouth, let me go get me a cheeseburger. Not nothing like that, but you have to understand that certain things you showed a sense of growth through a situation, knowing that you handle things differently. Like for instance, that I know, like for instance, if I have a disagreement with a coworker or with a supervisor or somebody of a status, and I went about it in a better way to only educate them when I felt disrespected. So I educated them instead of going off on them. I felt a sense of growth. I had to start understanding that hey, this is you have to start giving yourself credit for way more little things, because it shows that you are acknowledging your self-awareness. Is showing that you're acknowledging yourself and acknowledging your growth. So then when you start to reflect on yourself when things get bad, you then start to know like, damn, I did grow a lot. I did this. I acknowledged myself. I did this. You start to keep
look at the positives in yourself too.
Exactly. You start to keep a mental bookmark of your successes. So like you have to start being like realistic with yourself when it comes down to all this stuff like that, because it just shows how much you went through and how far you've came. So that's I got to do some stuff like that, because me being the person that I am, I still suffer with my childhood trauma. I still suffer with things that I went through with my mom, and me and my mom on good terms, but that scar's still there. It's one of those it's one of those scars open up and close. But my thing is, when you go through things that you've experienced, whether it's as the magnitude of it is as significant as a death in the family, or something that's happened to you, near death experience, or something as small as I'm not gonna say small as losing a job, but something that is small as an argument with your friend or family or something like that. You have to understand that things like this do happen, but you have to also be open enough to know that and acknowledge it and don't run from it. So a lot of us find coping skills that help us escape the reality of what we're going through, but a lot of us don't acknowledge or sit in why these things happen to why we are affected by these things. That makes sense. Like you ever sit, I feel like for instance, like I mean, we've all had boy and female problems or whatever like that, but you ever felt like, why am I so upset that this person either left me, or why this person is so upset at me? Why am I so frustrated at the fact of me caring so much about a certain person or something like that? Did you ever sit back and try to reflect about, damn, maybe it's because I felt like my mom wasn't there for me enough, so why I care for another person, because I'm trying to right the wrongs that I did with my mom with this person. So now I see a little bit of my mom in this person, so I want to be able to be there for that person because maybe I wasn't there for my mom like how I wanted them to be there for me. So maybe I'm trying to right my wrongs with them, or vice versa. So when you start to really self-diagnose yourself like that, or give it a different perspective or put it in a different light, then you start to notice like, damn, like, okay, I know the problem and now I see the root of it. So now I can then start finding out better ways to be able to go about it. So I start finding positive alternatives, of being able to be for myself and other people.
And that's what I was going to ask you is one of our points was finding coping skills. I know that through your diagnosis, you have been given medication. So how do you find coping skills, especially in that area where you feel like sometimes you have to go through several medications to find what works for you? How do you really cope when with or without medication, or just, those daily things?
Well, I had to go through 2 medications. I went through, and I'm on escitalopram. It helps with for people who are just not tuning in or who don't know what I'm diagnosed with. I'm diagnosed with ADHD on a severe scale and general anxiety disorder on a severe scale. So like they're comorbid, which they're like basically they coincide together, and they can get real bad. And no ADHD, like it's a lot of social stigmas that's associated with ADHD and general anxiety disorder.
It's mostly associated with children.
Yeah, but trust me, it's ADHD is way deeper than just kids just bouncing off the walls. Trust me, I did my research and found out it's way deeper than I've realized a lot about it. But and I'm currently on medicine for it, which it does help a lot. Escitalopram, I take 10 milligrams in the morning, 10 milligrams at night to be able to help me, because stuff hits the fan at nighttime. So I make sure that it's with me throughout the day, and then when I get home, I take another one so that throughout the night my night is smooth. But the ways that I actually help my mental space be able to stay, I'll say like normal, or in a sense, is I continually feed myself positivity and cope. I use my coping skills even when I'm not going through it. So for instance, I had this thing where I realized why not like watching like old cartoons cartoons that I would watch when I was little. And what I realized was when I would watch Tom and Jerry, old teen tie-ins, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed and Eddie, stuff like that. When I watch it now,
yes, sir,
I forgot. I would watch and I was like, why does this make me feel so happy? Why do I want to go eat cereal when I watch this? Because, like, it's crazy. You may not remember things, but your body remembers stuff. You ever feel like for instance,
your senses remember things. Your smell, your sight, what you hear.
Bro, August 7th, I had one of the worst days of my life, and I was like tripping all day, and I never knew what it was. And I got on Facebook because I wasn't really good on social media a lot. And what was crazy is I was trying to figure out why the hell do I feel so crazy? Why I feel so upset? Why am I so frustrated, bro? And it was the day my uncle had passed away a couple years ago, and I was like, what? This is why I feel like this, and it's crazy because my body remembered it.
Yeah,
me, I didn't know. I didn't. Like,
you were cognitively thinking about too many other things.
So what I'm saying, what I had to start realizing is like your body start remembering stuff like that. So when I would like watch those cartoons, it'll put my body start remembering eating Captain Crunch while watching Ed and Eddie and stuff like that. So I was like, now that when I watch cartoons more now because it puts me in a situation where it gives me a sense of a reality where I didn't have any worries. When we were little, we had to watch cartoons. You probably do a couple chores or whatever like that. Wait for dinner, wait for lunch, wait for breakfast, and then just be chilling.
Yes.
And if your mama was, well, hey mom, can I come? Can I ride? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, I figure out how to pray. Like, So it puts me in a situation where I don't have to. I don't have to. I had no worries. So now I find myself watching more cartoons, more anime, stuff like that. And I wasn't even.
Yes.
I was a little fan of it, but now I'm a big fan of it because it brings me so much peace. And
Yes.
that's what I have to start finding out, is that doing what works for me. You know, and sometimes when I would get vulnerable or I start getting frustrated with how I'm feeling or why I think the way I do, I had to start being understanding of don't run from my thoughts. Sometimes I had to sit in them and be like, why am I feeling like this?
Yes.
Why do I think about that? Because a lot of the time I get to the point where I was like, oh, I'm tripping again. Let me go drink. Let me go smoke. If I was ever that type of person, then I'm always going to be trying to run away from anything that rubs me the wrong way. And I never want to be a person that is like, because I will never be able to be in touch with reality, because, what will always determine what kind of person I'll be when something hits the fan, and when I'm given a substance or am I intoxicated, or if I'm given like, if I'm using a drug or something like that. So I never want to be a victim of that. So I think the best way I do is, even at times when I'm not going through it, I use my coping skills, watching cartoons, watching certain TV shows, exercising, doing stuff that helps me get through the day, even when I'm not doing it, even when I'm not going through it, and that's what I advise other people to do, is try different alternatives, not things that are just detrimental to you, but that's what actually help you get through what you have going through in a positive manner. So,
absolutely. I feel like one of those things I have is like playing records. I have a record player, and it's just something about like having to like constantly change the vinyl and hearing the needle on the record, that just really like gives me the Saturday morning cleaning, wake up, good energy vibe. So I'm just like, whatever is going on, like even when, long day, good day, I love to just, put vinyls on and do stuff like that, or paint. I am no artist, and just because you like to do something don't mean you have to be good at it.
that is true.
That's one of my coping skills. I love to paint. I will mix colors and find something to do, but it's just like, it's one of those moments where you can just genuinely focus 100% on what you're doing at the moment, and not worry about the list of 100 things that you had to do the day that you didn't complete, or any of those things, about worrying about your family, how they feel, la 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 la. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take this 30 minutes, this hour, and I'm gonna just sit with myself, and I'm gonna do what I like to do, and it's just gonna be me. And then you can return to those things. It's so much easier to return to all of these hectic things when you've had that, like you've had that, let me take a deep breath, let me get it together real quick.
Calm down a little bit, for sure.
Yeah, it's so much easier to handle those things, especially when you have like on your mental so many things piling up, like being in school, going to work, taking care of a family, building a future, like growing yourself financially. There's so many things, and you're like, I don't even know where to start. And it's like, let me go take a nap.
Need that nap.
That nap has saved me so many days.
So my thing is, I got a question. So like, what are some big contributors to mental health being affected positively or negatively?
In society, me.
I say both, because I think a lot of things that are affected in society can also be affected by you as well. So I think some things are big in society and some are big to me. Like for instance, like social media. Like to me, I don't think social media affects me in a negative manner. Like I don't think I can get on there and be like, oh, I'm tripping. Like, but I think that social media can be more of a distraction to me, as opposed to me instead of, it'd be more of a distraction instead of it be something that put me in a negative headspace, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But I also can say, go ahead.
I was just saying, I don't think that social media really affects me negatively, like as far as the content. I think that I have much in the way that I've changed it, that I constantly want to say, okay, what's going on? What news can I find? Who's getting drafted? When does the season start? Because football season starts tonight. So it's just like, I get so distracted from things that move me forward, that it's like, I'm like scrolling, trying to get information instead of acting. So I think it can have a negative effect that way. In my life, I can say men can distract me from my life, or have you know, that kind of
Yeah.
effect. But the reason why my name on social handles is the optimist is because I've always kept that mind state to just always be positive. Like, where is the best in this? What can you do? And just, you know, staying there. Because negative things, one thing I realized, if I don't care, I'm not going to stress it. And it's very few things that I care about. So if I don't care, I just had to be like, Hailey, do you even care? Like,
Yeah.
do you even care? And I didn't care. So I just stopped letting it affect me.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy. And I know you say like a lot of things about like I think a lot of people can relate about feeling like having female or male problems because like me, I've had female problems in the past, but it always root back to the problems that I had with my mom or like that, and understanding like having abandonment issues or being vulnerable or not being vulnerable enough. Because you know you can battle with yourself about seeing if this person's going to be a person that's going to be there for you when you need him to be or not. And I started realizing that maybe I feel like I have these situations or these problems with females because I feel like I'm trying to right my wrongs with my mother, and I'm trying to right the wrongs through the females, or fill that void with females as opposed to actually going and sitting down with my mom and filling that void with her. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yes.
when I realized that a while ago, like I made it my business to be like, hey, we need to fix this, hey. And then what I
Yes.
realized,
Going to the source.
it was one of the most beautiful things I realized that it was a generational thing because what I went through with my mom, she went through with her mom, and that almost made me realize, like, just imagine how many things are passed down through generations when it's
Yes.
like purpose. I'm pretty sure that my mom didn't even do this stuff on purpose, but I realized
Yeah.
that.
And now you're a dad. And so you
Yeah,
have to make those decisions of how your kids are going to be affected.
exactly. And that's the thing though, because my mom went through similar things that me and her went through. She went through with her mom, but also things that I went through with my dad, she went through with her dad. So it's like, damn, I'm like, Mom, we the same person.
She's,
She was like,
yeah.
you know,
Yep.
and when you realize that, it's like when you take the time out to really, because I had to start putting myself in her shoes to realize why she did what she did, and not justify it, but the reasoning behind it. You know, people get those two mixed up. Like
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like for instance, like say if I murdered somebody, you know what I'm saying, and then I tell people why I did it, somebody be like, oh, he's trying to justify it. No, I'm actually giving you my reason behind why I did it.
Yeah.
You know, you got to look at it in a different light. So perspective is literally damn near everything, you know.
Yes.
So when I started thinking about things like that, I had to start realizing, you know, with my mom and trying to go to the source of realizing that. So we can all have problems with things, but if we never really go to the source or figure it out or look at it through a different light, we'll never do ourselves
Never know.
any, you know. So when I started realizing that, that's when I had to really start finding sense and poise within myself, because I know I was going to never find any peace if I never
You got the
find.
words today. Okay.
Hey, tell them, hey, what, hey, Brandon Collection played around again. Tell them, bring it around
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I got them going in their pockets like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Deep down in them.
Yeah, but that's how it is. But that's just me giving my points. I know there's people out there who feel like they're going through things and they can't find the source or the root of what's really or why they're feeling the way they do. But sometimes it's like, bro, think about your childhood. Think about why you may chase after girls, or why you feel like you have to do certain things for attention. Did you like it in your childhood? Because a lot of our things that we hold on to have problems in our adulthood, they were never ever given solutions when we were little. So we hold on to those things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I learned. So I'm still learning about myself. It's crazy, you know?
Same. So my last question is, what advice do you have for people who don't know where to start or feel like they have exhausted all options?
To be honest, my thing is, do you think postpartum is a form of mental health?
Yes, it is a form of depression. It is a chemical imbalance or hormonal imbalance in a woman. It is a part of mental health. You can seek help for that. And it's really just on the spectrum of depression.
I mean, that's kind of what I was going to say, but you
What you
got
was
it.
gonna
Like,
say? No, it's not.
no, I said that I feel like that's part of it. I feel like it's part of it. I feel like there's nothing. I feel like a lot of people try to feel like I feel like what people try to do is they try to say what's important to them and what's How can I say this? I feel like people try to take their own opinion or perspective of what they deem as very important in mental health as opposed to what is really important in mental health. And I feel like there isn't something that's more important than the other. I think that there are things that affect people in a number of different ways than other things. So that's what I was just gonna say. So
Yeah.
But you said what do I? So when they exhaust, I feel like people who exhaust.
Advice. Yeah. My last question was, what advice do you have for people who feel like they don't know where to get started or they've exhausted all options? What's your advice to people?
To be honest, I just did that. I exhausted all my options. I was at ground zero. I'm talking about mental health breakdowns. I'm talking about mental health breakdown, like balled up in a ball, rocking back and forth, crying. Like that was me. Like so. I exhausted all my options. I felt like there were no solutions to get me to where I needed to go, so I had to figure out what I was going to do. So my options were ground zero. I knew that there was nowhere else to go but up. And I realized where I'm at now, I won't feel like this in the next couple of days, but I knew that these are my feelings. These were not false feelings. These were how our feelings. So I became in tune with my emotions, but my thing is my emotions and my mental, they're kind of like, they will trigger each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, sit here and be chilling, but then with my general anxiety disorder, my ADHD, it gets to going. Like, I can have one thought, and now my whole mood changed. I'm like, and then I get so many thoughts off of that thing that just messed my mood up, and I can't even help it because it's my disorder. So my thing is, I had to start being in tune with my emotions, why I felt that way, and why I kept thinking the way I do. So I was like, I would get these thoughts, and I just wouldn't run from them. I would just sit there and think like, damn, that's crazy. Like, this hurt, but I got to sit in it. But then I also had to start weeding out things that were not necessary around me. You know what I'm saying? I had to start weeding out things that weren't contributing to my positivity, to my success, to my image, to anything that I wanted to be going on with my life. So I had to weed out a lot of extra stuff, people, hobbies, things that I just had to weed out. It didn't matter how much it meant to me. My mental health mattered more than what it would mean to me. You know what I'm saying? So, damn, somebody's with a lot. Who is it?
This my mama.
Okay, I feel everyone has a form of mental illness. Just some people deal with it better than others and have that support system, which is true. There are so many free services that if you don't have that support system, which is very true. And what I did was I basically had to reach down within myself and realize just because this is going wrong, what was very hard was I wanted to run to my mom. I wanted to run to one of my friends, even though I felt like I didn't want to confide in them. I wanted to run to cartoons, but you know what I really had to do though? I had to really sit there with myself a couple times and really tell myself like, bro, like, this ain't gonna always be like this, but you also know that when stuff hits the fan, like, I know of course there are people that care about you ultimately, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause I got to the point where I was really feeling suicidal. But the thing I want to talk about suicide is that
it's Suicide Awareness Month. Speak on it.
Yeah, right. This is the thing. A lot of people, ultimately, in my perspective, I think people do come to the terms where they want to kill themselves. I believe so. The thing is, a lot of the people want the pain to end. I don't think they ultimately just want to kill themselves. I think they want the pain to end, and they feel like, I feel like people want to end that pain. They end that pain with killing themselves, and that's how I feel like people, or they exhausted all their options to the point where it's like, what
they just feel useless in the world. It's like,
or no use to anybody else, or there's nobody else that's going to be able to come to their aid when they want them to or when they need them to. So in my mind, that's how I feel. But I mean, not how I feel. That's how I view it. But that's not how I feel personally on like right now. So my thing is, I got to the point where when I felt suicidal, it was almost to the point where I knew that I wasn't just going to hurt myself, it was going to be hurting people around me. And then, it really hit me. As crazy as it may sound, I was like, dang, if I kill myself, I'm still going to have my disorders with me. I'm still going to be crazy. So when I thought about that, I'm like, that's crazy. I'm trying to escape my thoughts. So when I thought about that, I know it's crazy to say, but it's like, wow, I really just don't want to have my thoughts. So I'm really going through all this stuff like that because of my disorders and stuff. So it's really because I'm thrown off balance. So I need to really start getting back in tune with what makes me happy, doing what makes me happy, getting away from it. So what I started doing was becoming what I would say is a real lifer. I stopped social media. You know what I'm saying? I stopped contacting people that was through phone, and I really just became everything that was around me was what my world was. You know what I'm saying? So everything that I was dealing with was like, you know what I'm saying? I was going to workouts, going to train, eating, cooking, all that my universe. I didn't know anything that was happening on my phone. I didn't know anything that was happening through my phone or anything like that. So I created my own universe, which is me. So when I thought about it on that kind of spectrum, I realized that, dang, you know what? Like, this is what I needed. So I just got in tune with just being myself and being able to do what was going to be best for me at that moment. And that was
Yes.
being in tune with myself and building myself up before I would then reach out. Like you said, like sometimes you got to clear with yourself for not even just hours, but it was like days of before you get out of
Yes.
that funk and then start
Mm-hmm.
processing. Hey, look, now I'm ready to hear therapy. Now I'm ready to hear counseling. Now I'm ready to hear
Yeah,
what
and
my
I'm
friends
ready
are
to
going.
hear other perspectives.
Exactly, but that takes so much mental toughness because I was at my lowest, like, you know, and you know, when you're that low, sometimes you don't know how to even go about things. But the thing is, you have to start
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. And my thing is, I ain't gonna lie, I think it's okay to cry your eyes. I think it's okay to honestly be at this place where you feel like I don't think nobody's gonna care. Like, I think it's okay to feel suicidal. I think it's okay to feel all that. I think the problem is
Feel the
how to
feels.
go about that. Yeah, I think it's just a problem when you don't go about it in a fashion to the point where you can recover or try to recover from that. You lost the battle. You can't fail until you quit. You can't fail until you really just don't do anything about what you have going on. And I think a lot
Yes.
of us don't talk about being suicidal, but I think that it's a common thing. I think it's more common than people think it is. Like, you know,
It's way
like,
more common than people think it is.
yeah, so when I became suicidal like a couple weeks ago, or even last week, I knew that I was in a position to the point where it's like I really didn't truly want to die, but I knew that I felt like I wanted these thoughts or this pain to be gone. But I knew that
Mm-hmm.
that fight had to start internally. You know what I'm saying? Of
Yes.
course, I can go get advice and stuff like that, but before I get all that stuff and be able to hear all the perspective and everything like that, I have to fight some of this fight before I go get that. And that's what I
Absolutely.
feel like because I have to work on my mental toughness as well because I want to be able to be in a position to where when stuff really hits the fan still, I have enough fight in me to be able to
So yes,
combat
keep it going.
stuff. You know what I'm saying? To keep going so it's not like, oh, I got a flat tire, mom, or damn, I got no food in the crib, mom. Like, you know what I'm saying? Calling somebody every time something hits the fan. I had to have some
Yes.
type of toughness. So I was building up my resilience without even
Yes.
noticing it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I go about it. But I don't think everybody else is built like that or have that kind of like mental
I think it's good
mindset.
advice though.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just something that you have to work on, and it doesn't happen after every situation. And you don't build the
Mm-hmm.
toughness after one situation. You have to really go through some things.
Yes.
So
One of my favorite quotes, it says, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with but a single step." And like that really helps me put large things into perspective. Like when it came time to me like finish schooling, like getting a degree, I was like, oh, you know, but it's like, okay, you literally just have to start. You just
yeah,
have to take the first step, and before you know it, you know, reached the end of that milestone.
yeah, and that's the thing though, because I know I got in a situation where I wasn't even gonna start this podcast, and I just got to the point where my friend Tracy was like, "Bro, here I got an app, just started," and then I mean I've just been taking off ever since. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. That's the beautiful thing about a lot of stuff that we have going on. We can't just limit ourselves to the expectations of our head. It's a lot of stuff we live. I had to start telling myself I gotta stop living in my head. Like it's so much things I probably would have been able to accomplish if I just start doing it, if I start speaking it. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Yes.
what I had to start doing. Like just imagine if I was.
People can help you figure things out. If
Yeah,
you
but
can't figure it out in your head, you can say, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm really trying to figure this out. Like these things make me happy. These things I'm passionate about. This thing I want to try. And somebody say, hey, back in the day, I used to do this. And
yeah,
this is how you have
yeah.
to do it.
And you know what the thing is? I also want to tell people this. Please, please, please. If you guys have ideas about what you have going on, please don't be scared to share, but also be understanding that people are not going to see your vision the way you see it. So you have to also be mindful of that. But also understand people may not always see the vision. You know why? Because God didn't give them the lenses or the glasses that they gave you to see the vision that you have.
Yes.
So be mindful of this. Just because they can't see you doing it does not mean that you cannot do it. I mean, a lot of people, if I told them that I was going to be a clothing line designer or that I was going to have my own podcast or I was going to be an MMA fighter, they would have
Yes.
thought about
Tell
you.
16-year-old Adrian that.
Think about this. They would have seen they would have thought about a UFC fighter and they looked at me and be like, oh, I don't think I see you fighting. Or they would have seen who's a clothing line designer right now that's popular as of right now. Kanye, let's say Kanye West. They would say
Virgil.
like Virgil. They were like, all people, he can't do no shit
You
like
want
that.
to do what?
Like, you feel me? And the thing is, like, that's what we're talking about, the expectations. If I put a limit on expectations, or if I limit myself to the expectations of you or your opinions, all I'm gonna do is be a victim of your tongue every time. Every time that you feel like I can't do something, or your advice is the only advice that's right, I'm only gonna be the person that you say I am. So as of right now, if I say like, you know what, I want to be an astronaut, you'd be like, nah, you'll be a dope ass truck driver though. I'm like, oh damn, I'm gonna be a truck driver. I'm everything that you say I am then. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I got to the point where it's like, bro, I'm just gonna live my life. I don't care. Like, I got to the point where it's like, I got a cat. Somebody like, bro, you're not supposed to have a cat. Bitch, I get a koala bear. What you gonna say? I don't care. So, I'm gonna spend more time with that cat or that koala bear that's gonna make me happy than what's your opinion. Hey, that's it.
Drop the mic on that one.
But bro, that's crazy. Look, listen to this. Look, listen to this. I'm gonna repeat it. I'm gonna listen to this. That's some shit right there. Look.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy. You know why? Because I'm gonna spend more time with what makes me happy than what's your opinion at. Like that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, that's crazy.
And that's why I said you gotta look at yourself and say, do I even care? And if you don't care, let it go. Josh said, still have it written on my vision board. Yes, vision boards are so important. Like just being able to see things daily. That's it.
Yeah.
Adrian, you got any more questions?
Not even. You know what I got some things I want to talk about. Resilience.
Mm-hmm.
So the resilience is decrease the impact of trauma that you want to build so you can build better resilience. So these are different things that can factor into building your resilience. Having a positive self-image, having supportive relationships with friends, family, and other permanent positive connections. Mm-hmm. Improving your communication skills and your comprehension skills. Because I communicate to you, but you also have to be able to comprehend. So improving your problem solving skills. I mean, finding solutions to whatever you have going on. When you improve those skills, you improve your environment and your lifestyle. Improving coping skills to allow them to deal with things in a more healthy manner. Also, resilience is defined as an individual's ability to successfully cope with adversity. Also, resilience is why some people appear to come through negative trauma events without much impact to their life and mental health. So it doesn't mean that the person doesn't feel the intensity of the event. They have just figured out a way to cope and successfully get through what they have going on. So I say all that. It's so much things that you can be able to do to be able to build to be resilient. But I advise you to be able to persevere through what you have going on so that you can then become resilient to these little things that come into your life. Because it's a lot of things that can be small things to a giant. It's just about your perspective and your resilience and how you persevere through it. So that's my advice to you, is to be able to be that person and be everything that you want to be. You're not one person. You weren't given one gift. You have tons of gifts. You just probably haven't took the time out.
You haven't tapped into them yet.
Exactly. You haven't took time out to manifest them yet. So just imagine what you'll do when you take that time out to do that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's all what I have to say for today. You know what I'm saying? That's everything.
Yeah. I think you gave great advice. I think this was great. Again, like I said earlier, I thank you for being someone that looks like us in our community and working in this field so that when there are young brown girls and boys who need to get their mind together, they can say, who is Adrian Palmore? Wow, he can really help me. This is someone who looks like me. So it's so appreciated
bro,
to have people like you in our community.
Yes, I have neck tattoos. You feel me?
Yes.
I got a mouthful of gold too. I got tattoos everywhere. I wear jewelry, all that. You know what I'm saying? My hair, I got dreads in my hair. I got all those negative stereotypes. So it's nothing that can stop you from you putting the effort in to be able to do the right thing for mental health, whether it's for you and others. For sure, for sure.
Absolutely. So appreciate you, big dog. Thank you for having me on your pod. I always look forward to these.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna be uploading this on YouTube. I'm gonna be able to edit this and everything like that. So you'll be able to see this on YouTube. So I'll be able to load it on there. You guys stay tuned.
Yes, sir. Tap in YouTube.
Jerseys coming out. Yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. They're going to be white, red, and blue. This colorway is going to be coming out very, very soon. It's going to be on my website, constantpodcast.com. So I can't wait for you guys to be able to see that. So it's a lot of good news coming up. I also fight Halloween, October 31st in Oklahoma. So you guys be on announcements for that. So it's a lot.
I can't wait for that.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you guys stay tuned. I really appreciate the people who stayed live, and I also appreciate the people who are going to be tuning into my YouTube channel to watch other episodes in this episodes. And I thank you so much, Hailey, to be able to be on here, to be able to talk about these kind of issues, because it's so important, it's so imperative for us to be able to show the magnitude of mental health and how it affects us in our daily lives. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it, big dog. Anytime.
Yeah, so yeah, Conscious Gym, you hear me? But we out of here, though. We's out of here.